Cool. So we're live. Hey,
What's up, man?
everybody. Welcome to the Genuine Minute. I'm here with Macrae Heppler. He is a St. George legend, a local legend, knows everything that's going on in the town. He is the man of the man. And Macrae, tell us about yourself. Who are you?
Oh man, I appreciate that. Although I'm not that, but I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm Macrae Heppler. My business that I own here in St. George is Eaglegate Title. So as far as for home buyers and sellers, we are where you close. A lot of people know, oh, I'm going to close on my house, but a lot of people don't know it's at a title company. Um, and so we get to work with realtors like JD and lenders and builders, and we get to be right involved in every transaction. Started the business in 2015. We have a team that is amazing, and it lets me focus on just building relationships because that's really the key of real estate. So
Now,
um,
is that what
yeah.
you do there? Is you're the relationship guy? You're the kind of the overhead bringing in the
Yeah.
business? Is that your role at Eaglegate?
Yeah. So when we started the business, my mom is actually our escrow officer. And so she's my business partner. And she had worked for a title company for a long time. Since before I was born, she's been in this business. But she wasn't the entrepreneur slash sales and marketing. She's the best at closing. And that's just what she does. And
I can
so
attest to that. She's fast. She's just in there
she
zooming
is.
through it. She knows everything about these files. She is good at her job for
She's
sure.
amazing, and
So
I knew that I could sell and market that. And so the company she worked for shut down, and I approached her and said, I'll grow it, I'll manage it, I'll do all the entrepreneurial stuff. You just keep closing and I'll bring the business. And 7 years later, we're still here. So take that as a
so
win.
no, that's a huge win. And obviously everybody has, they they have the success in front of them. They have uh, you know, we're talking about it right now, how you're win, you're 7 years in, but what did you do to basically sharpen your axe? Like, what are some of the hardships you had to deal with kind of growing this business?
So one of the hardships really was I was a 25-year-old, still a kid. I mean, I'm still young. The title business is a business that's generally kind of an older crowd, I guess you could say,
Right.
and I guess at least here. And so part of what I had to get through was having people take me serious. Uh,
Overcoming objections, right?
yeah,
Just
overcoming
I
objections.
dealt with the same thing because you see a younger real estate agent or a younger person that's
Yeah,
driven but fresh, and people are a little bit hesitant to be like,
yeah.
do I really want to give this person my business?
Yeah, exactly. And in
Right.
title, it's like we handle all the money, we handle all the documentation. There's so many details that if it gets messed up on our end, there's a lot of things that can get messed up through a transaction. But if at the end of the transaction, when we record that, and if there's anything wrong with the money or with anything, I mean, it's a big deal. So it is a big deal in general to where you send your clients for title and escrow. And so that was part of it. Part of it was just coming in and uh, winning over the trust of people that had been in the industry a long time to a kid that was 25 years old.
Yeah, I feel like anybody that's young minded or right out of college or something, I think that's something they're going to experience even in a corporate job
Yeah,
is just basically coming in as this fresh person and really figuring out what you can do to set yourself apart and gain the trust of all these older people. That's
yeah,
been our number one, the number one thing, and like on my end, like I said, is just gaining the trust. Now,
for sure.
so Eaglegate's been around for, you said, 7 years now, right?
7 years down here. Yeah.
So, and I've had the pleasure of closing plethora of deals with you guys this year. Obviously, I've been extremely happy with the service. Now, what do you guys feel? What do you feel that you're doing that's setting yourself aside from other title companies? Because obviously, at the end of a transaction, there's plenty of title companies to choose from.
Right.
But I mean, I kind of have an opinion, but I'd like to hear it from you.
Yeah. So what I like to think is the way our team set up is different than your typical transaction or your typical escrow team. So in general, usually there's an escrow officer with a few assistants. And in our case, we have two escrow officers that are working on every deal. So there's my mom, Leslie, who is one end of it, and then Tori is our other that handles all the funding. So there's one person over funding, one person over basically making sure, with docs, everything. There's so much that goes into it.
Yeah, there
But
is a lot of
apart
moving
from
parts.
that, we then have uh, a plethora of other assistants that all make up this one big team. And I really think that, and then we have our title in-house. So title and escrow are two separate components, but they go hand in hand. We have everything in-house. And I just know that our communication and the ability to communicate is what separates us, because when it gets crazy busy like this and everyone's busy,
Yeah,
sometimes the phone doesn't get answered, sometimes emails don't get answered, and that's how you separate yourself from the rest, is the communication.
I would 100%. In fact, I think that the Genuine Group is fully based off of communication and being quick to communicate, because
Yes.
sometimes you're like, I really need this information,
Yeah.
but no, I can't get a hold of anybody to give it to me.
And that
Um,
was one way, if I can interrupt, one way that when I started in the business, I knew it was a relationship based business, and I already had friends in the business, but I knew that in order to grow, that I needed to not only make friends but then impress them. And like you say, every title for the most part, the consensus thought is always every title company is the same. When in
right.
reality, just like with realtors, that's not the truth. But on the surface, it might be. And so my goal when I first started was I told anybody, you need CCNRs, you need a plat map, you need a profile, you need any county information. I will get it to you faster than anybody else. And
That's
I
awesome.
was shocked at how many people took that. Like, it was such a big deal. It was such a
It
small
is. It
thing,
is huge.
but when you're showing a property and you're out with clients, you don't have 6 hours or the next day
Right.
to get CCNR. You need those CCNRs like right then, or
Right.
or in a lot, not every time, but I made that a thing where when someone asks me for something, it's going to be there as soon as humanly possible.
I love
And
that you bring
so,
that up, because so yesterday we're coaching a couple agents, and the thing we were coaching on is time kills deals inside of real estate. The agents that are quicker, faster, more efficient, and quicker to reply are the ones that are basically getting these deals and getting them all the way through the end,
yeah,
and more deals, right? And so if you can partner with a title company or have a preferred title company that you have a relationship with, I think personally that's huge. And I can attest to it. I know Macrae gets back to me. I'll text him at like 9 o'clock at night, and he's like, "What's up? I'm here." And I'm like, "Go to bed. What are you doing working, man?" No, that's awesome. So obviously, a hardship was the age, which is a
one
big
of them, yeah, for
factor.
sure.
Now, when you started this process, I always like to ask this question: what was a driving factor? Because nobody just like wakes up and says, I want to do title one day. But
Yeah.
obviously, you saw something behind it. What drove you then, and what's driving you now to continue growing this business?
Yeah, so growing up, I didn't have something that I had ideas. I wanted to be a professional athlete. That went away quick, but I had ideas of what I wanted to
That's
do,
a
but
that's a
didn't
tough one
really.
though.
Yeah, I know. Didn't know what I wanted to do. I went on an LDS mission, came back. I had knocked doors for 2 years, and I came back and I had some friends knocking doors, selling alarms. And so I was like, I like sales, because I had been a phone sales agent prior when I was 18, and really liked it. And I just like people. I like talking to people. I feel like I can sell. And I mean, and I knew I wanted to control. The one thing I always knew is I wanted to control my destiny. And so I didn't want to have like a cap on my life in general. And so I I came home, I started knocking doors, and that was like a means to an end to just like hone in sales skills. I learned a lot of entrepreneurial stuff, reading books, setting up my first LLC, doing all that. And from there, I knew that I wanted to be a business owner in some fashion, and I wanted it to be in St. George. I'm from here. I love this place. It's
It's
the
paradise.
greatest place on earth.
It literally is.
And especially having lived other places knocking doors, every time I came home, it was just this, like, this place
Yeah.
is the place.
I feel
And
that way just going to California and coming back. I'm just like,
yeah,
I'm home.
yeah. And so I knew that's what I wanted to do. I just didn't know what it was going to be. And so I got involved with the gym, invested in it, and was here more often. And that's just like when the opportunity came to do this. I just ran with it because I knew I already loved real estate. I had thought of becoming a realtor. I wanted to be in sales. I wanted to be a business owner. But really, my family was this kind of the centerpiece. Working with my mom, I knew she was the best. I knew that I could increase that, and I knew that if we did that, that it would help set up our family forever. And not that there was any, not that not that there was any necessarily struggle, but like I just knew that we could take that and make a family business and run with it. And
Were you,
so I
did
got
you have,
into it. Go ahead.
sorry, did you have any fears? Because I know like in business, a lot of times people say, oh, be careful with family, working with family and friends. Did you have fears going into that or concerns that
No,
you addressed? You were just full
no,
in.
just the relationship I've always had with my mom, I knew would work. And I knew that I would have my zone of genius, she would have her zone of genius, and it would work. And honestly, in 7 years, very, very little disagreements even. Like,
That's awesome.
and she trusts me, I trust her. That's how it's been my whole life. And I've been a pretty independent, I was a pretty independent kid. And so there's not there, it's been awesome. Like
No,
I could, and my
that's
brother works with
so
us
good.
now, and he's our head title department. And so the three of us get to work together, and it's amazing.
So for the people watching, I guess the client facing people watching, what what kind of fees do title companies generally have, and what can they kind of expect to pay a title company? Because I know some other states lawyers actually will like close these transactions and see them to the end, but in this
Yeah,
case Utah is a title state, right? So
yeah,
what does that look like for our clients?
yeah. So it's twofold. There's the title policy, which, without getting too in the weeds with it, it's the policy that ensures that the seller doesn't have any prior liens, judgments of any kind that are going to continue forward when the new buyer takes over. And then there's the lender policy. If there's a loan involved, that ensures the lender that they're in first position on the property.
Okay.
And so whether you're a seller or a buyer, you're paying one of those fees. If you're a buyer with a loan, if it's a cash purchase, then only the seller is responsible for the owner's title policy, which is the policy that ensures the buyer going forward. Apart from that, there's settlement fees. Settlement fees range from 275, 300 to 400, depending on where you go. We're all pretty regulated, so it's all pretty much the same in a way, fee wise. And then the title policies are based off the sales price and loan amount.
Okay.
So it really just depends, as low as a couple $100 up to thousands.
Yeah,
So
depending on the purchase amount.
yeah,
So it's required, it's expected. A lot of
yes,
times you even actually provide a service for real estate agents too, to actually like kind of calculate those, right?
yeah,
Where can they
right.
find those at?
Like as far as like a
Like a net
calculator.
sheet or something, or
Yeah,
calculator,
so just
yeah.
on we have a website where we have a calculator embedded in the website that people can go in, type in sales prices, loan amounts, and just get that right from there.
Okay. And we'll put that in the comments so people can go and find that, just in case they want to go see what their home's worth or what they would net if they paid their fees. It's a really helpful
Yeah,
tool. Now, I feel like that pretty much answers most of the client facing questions. Now, well, maybe there's one more. So obviously, crazy market. It's been that way. St. George is hot. We're low inventory. On your end, what's some tips that maybe you could give some home buyers right now, looking, or even sellers? What's some tips you can give some of our clients in this crazy market?
So the first one is use a real estate agent.
My man. Yes.
And that's just I experience we handle for sell by owner, and there's a lot of people that have bought and sold multiple times, and they kind of know, but there's still just so much smoother when there's a real estate agent involved, as far as getting through the transaction. Now finding a home, selling a home, also you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't use an agent, solely because the knowledge that that agent brings and the time that they put in and everything that goes into it. A lot of times you may even sell your house for more and net more, uh, using an agent, because you may have been off on your pricing. And so
Totally true.
that, and then also just really not getting discouraged, I think, and just being consistent with having a consistent realtor that's really actually looking, whether it could be off market stuff,
Yeah.
potentially, it could be,
They're putting in
uh,
the work for you.
yeah, putting in the work.
Yeah.
And I, I mean, the bottom line is it's not going to get any easier from here, especially with rates, rising a little bit. It's not going to get easier with the low supply, and so just don't give up and just be diligent, be consistent, and you'll find something.
Yeah. Make sure you find somebody that can communicate. We'll bring it back to that.
Yeah, for
That
sure.
somebody that's quick at communicating with you. Now,
Totally.
just a few more, and then I'll let you go because I know you're a busy guy. But um, when you're building your business and you're growing it, and even maybe potential business in the future, what's a couple tips you can give to some young entrepreneurs that may be watching, or people that are growing their business right now?
So the two main things. First one, I've mentioned relationships. Relationships in any business is the key to success. The relationships you have with your staff, your employees, your partners, with internally, along with if you are a business to business, or your business to consumer, or whatever you are, your relationship with your clients is far and away, that, and internally, there's no value. It's
It's the
what am
highest
I trying to
value.
say? The highest value.
The
Yes,
relationship is king, basically.
yes,
Yep.
and even, with, yeah, the relationship to me is the number one thing in business.
Yeah.
The second thing is tracking and this is just from experience, tracking what comes in, and more importantly, tracking what goes out and where it's going out. There's a lot of people, in my former business, I wasn't tracking my expenses that well, and we were doing okay and everything was good, and then kind of wasn't, and I started just losing track. And if there's one thing, there's a book by Keith Cunningham, how to uh not here, how to the blueprint for creating a successful
Oh,
ultimate
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
ultimate blueprint for an insanely successful business. It's all about tracking your metrics in what you do. So I have four main metrics, that I track on a daily and weekly and monthly basis. And since I've done that, it's been massive. That's one of the other tips that I would say.
Do you mind sharing those metrics, or are they
Yeah.
personal to the company?
So my metrics that I look at are orders received, total transactions closed, and total sides closed. Because in our business, sometimes we close one side of a transaction, sometimes we close two. And then the fourth one is revenue. As far as metrics, number of metrics, those are
Okay.
mine. Those are
So
my
you have those up. That's a daily thing that you're
I
actually
look at
looking
that.
at.
I look at that in some fashion. I'm looking at it on a spreadsheet, every day,
That's
and I'm
awesome.
tracking my expenses on my own on a spreadsheet, weekly.
Analytics for a business is huge. I think
Yes.
most successful businesses, it allows you to look at the numbers and figure out where you're lacking, so that that week or that month or that quarter, you can go and attack that area that you're not doing so hot in. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I would
And
fully agree.
the profit first system, I don't, that's another book that I highly recommend. Profit First is a system I implemented. I think it's been 3 years financially. And I can say it's crazy, but it is, you set up basically 5 different bank accounts. One where the income goes in, one for operating expenses, one for owner's distribution, one for profit, and one for taxes. And before, I just had it all in one bank account, and it was fine, and I was tracking it good. But once I opened the 5, and every time I have income come in, it immediately gets distributed in the percentages that I've allocated to the other 4.
For each of them.
And it is, I recommend that to anybody and everybody that runs a business. And you can even apply it to your personal life.
Profit First system. Now, was that a book you read, or is that
It's
just
a
somewhere
book.
where you could? Okay.
Yeah, it's a book.
And what was the other one you mentioned again? It was the Millionaire,
The ultimate
or
the ultimate blueprint for an insanely successful business.
cool. We'll put that in the comment section too. So if anybody wants to take a look at those 2 books, I'll
Yeah.
probably read that Profit First system,
It's
because
incredible.
it's probably a good refresher for anybody that needs it.
Yeah.
No, that's great. So
That way I know, like, as a business owner, taxes, you a lot of times you're paying taxes quarterly, but so, like, a lot of your big chunk is at the end. And if you don't have enough, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like, it's not fun.
well, and
For
that's
me
a
to allocate
conversation.
that, so nice.
That's a conversation that we have with any of the new agents that we train, because yeah, you're going to make these commission checks, which we talked about in our last video, where the commission comes from, but you got to be able to put away a little bit of money for those taxes, or come tax time, you're going to get killed on taxes and and that's not what we want. So that's good that you mentioned that. So I don't have too many other questions for you, but one I did have is, I guess, what's one thing that you're working on for this year? What's a big goal of yours?
One big goal for me is building an office building for Eaglegate that we will occupy some of it and we will lease some of it. And I'm super pumped.
That's awesome. So that's going to be that's a big one. How close is that?
Its design is pretty much done. We're just waiting on building permits like everybody else in the city. And we're hoping to go vertical. I don't want to jinx it, but in the next 6 months.
Have you disclosed the location to anybody, or is that something you're keeping
it? I mean,
keep it on the DL.
Yeah, I mean, just because it's not a done deal yet, I guess I should probably not. But
yeah,
it's gonna
don't jinx it. Don't say anything about it.
It's gonna be a blast. Though.
We'll be at the grand opening. We'll be there. And as far as that, obviously that's a big goal you're working on. What's one thing in St. George, in our area, that you're looking forward to in the next year or so?
Oh man, more new restaurants.
Yeah.
I'm a restaurant guy.
Yeah. We'll link Macrae's Eaglegate and all of his YouTube channels in the comments too, because he does videos on St. George. If you guys are interested in it, you take a look. He's my go-to for everything, for this, everything new coming to St. George. He knows where it's at. So that's awesome. Well, thank you, Macrae. Really quick, how can people get a hold of you if they need your services? What's the best way to contact Eaglegate?
Yeah, so you can call either my cell phone number is 435-668-7293, or our office phone number is 435-703-6060. That's going to be the best way to do it.
And we'll put that down below too.
I answer my phone.
So. Yeah, he does. I can attest to that. Sick. Well, thanks, Macrae. Thanks you again for being on the Genuine Minute. Again, my name is JD Reese. I do real estate here on the Genuine Group. I probably should have said that at the start of the video, but I guess if you watched it till now, you can have it now. Thanks again. Thanks for watching. And thanks, Macrae.
Thanks, man.